more than 50 technologies for enhancing the productivity of the cereals, pulses, oilseeds, as well as fiber crops. They are also responsible for Shankar. So he developed good technologies with respect to Jagre, and also he is serving in US Dharwad. He collaborated in release of 3 maize hybrids, fodder copy 4, wheat, and also the 6 sugarcane varieties by working on organic requirements for different crops. So he also developed 19 new technologies were included into the package of practices of US Dharwad, mainly on drip irrigation, fertigation and cotton. And also he is a recipient of best thesis award for his PhD thesis, particularly from Indian Society of Agronomy. And so he worked on grain amaranth, also new crops. At that time when he was working, they were all new crops or 100 crops. In case of the baby corn, grain amaranth, and also now he is working for the natural farming practice in pulses, oilseeds, and also the millets based intercropping system. He handled several courses for both UG as well as PG courses. Now he is a project leader for Karnataka State Department of Agriculture sponsored mega project. It is ORP, the Operation Research Project on Natural Farming. So he introduced 12 chapters to organic as well as natural farming practice of US Dharwad, and he demonstrated nature farming in 1,000 hectares in farmers field. And also he wrote the books, and also chapters 9 were published in Popular Articles 18, and the bulletins of leaflets brochures about 10, and also he published a full-length paper more than 100. This is his biodata, so you can harvest his rich experience in various fields, teaching, research, and other the ICR projects. So therefore, it gives me immense pleasure to introduce such a dynamic and also the young scientist. Young scientist, vast experience in the field, in all works of what is our university setup. So therefore, we can interact, we can get the knowledge and use this knowledge as well as the experience in your future endeavor, and make your students as proud of your students. With this introductions, sir, please take care of the stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vijay. He's a senior friend of mine. We worked together at Dharwad, and also, of course, also senior friend in college, and he was a coach to us in sports activities, particularly in Coco. So I am happy to meet him, this youngster at this university. And good afternoon to everyone. I would like to know the participants from which university they came from. Slight introduction. Right, okay. PGTC, right. So, just I will give brief introduction about what is natural farming, how it is developed and other things. Later we can discuss some other things, and particularly technical aspects will be discussed tomorrow. They kept 2 sessions in order to make it convenient to you all. So let us see what is the need of the natural farming. Just you all know about it. The thing is that why the natural farming is getting importance nowadays. One thing, one of the 19th century is century of chemistry, and 20th century it is chemistry of physics, because in 19th century we did all fertilizer trials, nutrient trials, herbicides, pesticides, all the chemicals and developed that is needed for our agriculture. Then physics involving all machineries for combined harvester, land preparations, etc. And now we can say the 21st century is of biology. Okay, and because biology, it's all depends on organic agriculture or natural agriculture, etc. Sustainable agriculture, ultimately we are linking it to the sustainable agriculture. We have to think of environment now. Soil health then plant health, human health, animal health, and environmental health also. So one health concept is coming up now. So if you are going on using the chemicals inadvertently, you know, many times we say imbalanced application of fertilizers, overuse of herbicides, overuse of pesticides, okay. So indiscriminate use of pesticides, that causes lot of problems, etc. That's how this is. So we have to think of sustainable agriculture. Ultimately, sustainable agriculture is linking to so many problems. Decline in soil health, loss of productivity, soil infertility, desertification, reduced agrodiversity, pesticide pollution, pest resistance. Okay, we have observed in several cases. Even BT cotton also we observed pest resistance. Cotton especially we observed lot of resistance. Red gram also, especially bollworm or pod borers. Climate emergency. Nowadays, from last 5 years, we are experiencing excess rain, and this year we are experiencing severe drought, okay, across the country. That's all related, so interlinked. Ultimately, overview of the natural farming. Now, agriculture practices before independence, we are practicing the natural farming, is it not? At that time, there was no chemicals at all, no nutrients. We agriculture scientists struggled a lot to introduce our nutrients, fertilizers into the farming. Okay, and green revolution has caused lot of impacts. Ill effects of conventional or modern agriculture on health of soil, human, animal, and environment. Decline in carbon, soil organic carbon, that causes the most. So that's ultimately lead to the decline in production or productivity over years. What is the present situation? If you see that, if you ask any farmers, the farmers are always under stress due to one or the other reasons. As I mentioned, either due to over moisture or shortage of moisture, then the agriculture practices are loaded with chemicals, started with seed treatment, is it not? Soil application of herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, nutrients, etc. Productivity is declining. And one of the reason is that carbon content. Nowadays, if you go to any soil, analyze it across the country, it ranges from 0.3 to 0.5%. Even in our organic farming plots, if we measure, though it is maintained from last 15 years, we are hardly having 0.65. And ultimately, in order to get sustainable productivity, the organic carbon should be up to 1%. Okay, therefore, maintenance of organic carbon is most important. Then, farmer indebtedness. So, for everything he has to buy, every input starting from seed. Earlier, farmers used to keep their own seed. Now, he has to buy the seed, all the inputs, and ultimately it end up with, if it doesn't get the proper crop or yield, then it will lead to the indebtedness. And as we consumers, what type of food we are getting, especially fruits and vegetables, you can see today we will spray pesticides and tomorrow we will bring to the market. The foods are laced with chemicals. That's the highlighting point. So we have to transform agriculture practices to be ecologically sustainable. Of course, we have to enhance the productivity. We should not forgo it, and ultimately it should be eco-friendly. Eco-friendly farming practices, we have to do it. So consequences, as I mentioned, this gives green revolution, impacts of green revolution, impacts on agriculture and environment, pest and pesticides, water consumption, air pollution, even impacts on soil and crop production, extinction of indigenous varieties of crops. No single variety is covering large area. Take the example of sugarcane itself, 86032. It's covering 80% to 90% of the peninsular India. Just I am giving one example. BT cotton, 98% of the cotton area covered under BT cotton. 98% of maize is under hybrids. Earlier, our India is known for several types of varieties, traditional varieties, having different characteristics, is it not? Characteristics with respect to its quality and duration and other things. That's how it is causing lot of impact, and these are all the things you know it. I don't want to stress it, but just to refresh it. So area under farming is increased due to green revolution. Single cropping, double cropping area is increased, adoption of high yielding varieties, high increased use of inorganic fertilizers, irrigation facilities, pesticides, etc. Then its impacts, especially pests and pesticides. In just some of the the literatures I am giving here, India became one of the largest producer of pesticides in the whole of Asia. Okay. Although this has contributed to a lot of economic gains, of course in terms of plant protection it has given, but we are producing lot and using inadvertently, and the average amount of pesticide usage is far lower than in many other countries. Still then we have a residues in the food. That's the alarming situation. You might have seen the situations. Some of the products which are exported returned back, particularly mango, chili, turmeric, because of high pesticide residues. Did not. That's one of the example. Causes of water and air pollution. I am giving one instance for this. The farmer who is practicing natural farming from last 14 years in chili crop, he analyzed his chili, dry chili, okay, for the pesticide residue in the laboratory. He came with a report that the chili powder or dry chili, what is analyzed, is having traces of what is that lambda-cyhalothrin, pendimethalin. Then he came to my office and interacted with me. Sir, from last 14 years I am not using any chemicals. Still then, how I got the traces of these chemicals. And also his concern was that he is selling his product at premium price as a natural farming product, and farmers are giving even 50% extra amount than the market rates. And if I give this the pesticide laced product, what is the fate of me? So I went to his field, just saw the topography of the land and inquired just information, what are the practices he is doing. Of course he is not using any chemicals, but he is having a farm pond. I asked him where the water will come to his farm pond. Not only from his field, it is coming from his adjacent field. That water is used for irrigation. Think of it, just irrigation water that is stored in the farm pond used for his crop, that is having a residue in traces. And what happened if the farmers are directly using in the field? Pendimethalin, all the farmers are using pre-emergent herbicide as a pendimethalin in a chili crop, and lambda-cyhalothrin karate is used for control of fruit borer. It's a contact insecticide. So just then he, of course, he decided, sir, if it is the source of chemical, I will not use this water to my field. So just I am giving an instance. When you use that water, that's already diluted, is it not? When it is stored in a farm pond, that's having residues. And think of the fate of the product where the farmers are using. How many nowadays Ugar knows very well, our chili crop is suffering from murda. Farmer, every week farmer is spraying the pesticide, and what may be the load of residues in those product. Okay, that's the predator and prey pests are not in balance. When we used the pesticides, naturally it is also going to affect the beneficial insects, predators. Okay, that's how the complex of the pests are arising. So, of course, water consumption, maximum water in India is being used for agriculture purpose, and India are experiencing water stress due to irrigated agriculture, because we are growing water intensive crops. Whereas if you adopt, I am linking it, the present practices to the natural farming. If we adopt natural farming practices, definitely we can grow the crops which are requiring less water, so that we can reduce the burden of water shortages. And most of these crops are, wherever irrigations are there, cereals, and particularly 50% of dietary water footprint is constituted by cereals. So ultimately the impact of green revolution, we are consuming more of calories rather than nutritious food, balanced food. That's how. So air pollution, of course, our farmers are having the habit of burning the crop residues. That's one of the national scenario is at Indo-Gangetic belts, is it not? They are burning the rice straw. Okay. Then crop cycle is of short duration, high amount of pollution due to burning of agriculture waste, release of many greenhouse gases, particularly carbon dioxide, methane in rice fields, okay, and also from, of course, animal husbandry, nitrogen oxides, etc. These are the reviews that are giving about it. Just about to give the instances of soil and air health deterioration by our farmers' practice. Even in Maharashtra, Karnataka, of course, some of the farmers, even though we are enlightening them not to burn the sugarcane trash, still many farmers are having the habit of burning the sugarcane trash. So that causes a lot of pollution, lot of carbon dioxide. Of course, carbon dioxide should be there in soil. It's beneficial, but if it goes to the atmosphere, that creates a lot of problem. And similarly, nowadays, it was not the problem earlier. Maize stalks is also being burnt. Even in our Karnataka, Haveri, where the larger area is, especially chili, cotton area is replaced by maize. Their farmers, they don't have any livestock, and ultimately they harvest the corn cobs, then they go for burning the crop residues partially, and then immediately they want to go for second crop sowing. That's why these are the problem. And rice straw burning, paddy straw, stubble burning, that's also causing problem. So we are experiencing the effects of global warming, is it not? That's because of again carbon dioxide contribution to global warming is about 56%, then methane, CFCs, ozone, nitrous oxide, etc. So greenhouse effects we are facing. And particularly if I want to stress the biomass burning, that contributes about 10% of the carbon dioxide to the greenhouse gases. Okay. Then ultimately this is the total greenhouse gases emissions in India, 17,727 metric tons, and agricultural contribution is 17%. And in agriculture, again, if you come to the bifurcation, so that we can interact or we can try to reduce those things. Enteric fermentation, that's through our animals. Rice cultivation, agriculture soils, because of mechanization. If you go for deep plowing, tillage, that's also enhance the mineralization rate and releases the carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. Manure management and residue burning, these are all the causes for CO2 emission. How best we can reverse the global warming is through carbon sequestration. Sequester the carbon in soil, in biomass. Okay, that's why carbon trading is nowadays playing important role. The European countries, Western countries, okay, those who are releasing more of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, they are paying the farmers who are helps in carbon sequestration, particularly in the tree biomass. Okay, capturing carbon in the soil through organic agriculture. So telling all this story is that one of the way to reduce the carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere is through organic agriculture, that also involves natural farming practices. Okay, increasing plant population and production, reducing combustion, etc. So ultimately, impacts on soil and crop production. If you go through it, crop cycle for increased crop production and reduced crop failure, we depleted the soil nutrients. We are growing 2 crops, 3 crops, is it not? Multi-cropping in a year, so that is depleting. We are supplying, major nutrients. Nowadays we are supplying another 1 or 2 micronutrients, that too all farmers are not using this either zinc or iron, but crop removal is there. All the 16 elements are being removed by the crop. That's how the fertility is becoming declining, and no crop residues are retained on the soil or buried into the soil. That's the another cause. All the nutrients, whatever is removed by the crop, is taken away from the field, and intensive cropping system resulted in loss of soil organic matter. That's what I given the figure, 0.3 to 0.5. It's declining over years. That's because of the modern agricultural practices. So farmers used, in order to cope up that, that's why even I want to share the words of our DG, Pathak sir, when he visited our Institute of Organic Farming. He was asking, we are increasing the usage of biofertilizers in the farmers' field. Then he questioned why proportionately the fertilizer consumption is not coming down. Is it not? Over years it's going on increasing. Is it not? Fertilizer demand and consumption is increasing. That is because to get the same yield, invariably farmers are using more and more nutrients to cope up the nutrient losses in the soil. That's how increasing fertilizers as and when the soil quality deteriorates. Okay. So waterlogging, salinity and other problems are also associated with these modern agriculture practices. I mentioned extinction of indigenous varieties of crops. Just one example, India lost almost 1 lakh varieties of indigenous rice only. One example. Every state, the rice growing belts are having their own traditional varieties. To give an example, in our Karnataka, we call it as Karikagga, Bilikagga, that is suitable for saline soils, coastal saline soils, and many other varieties that are suitable for rain-fed agriculture. Okay, Inthan, etc. Now all these are being replaced by modern varieties. In turn, there was increased harvest of hybrid crops which would grow faster, and several crops are replaced. Just I will give one example of our state, Haveri. Earlier it was known for, Badgi chili, is it not? So Badgi chili was famous for the entire Haveri district. That chili is, previous to that, sorghum, Kharif sorghum was the major crop. Kharif sorghum was replaced by chili because of its demand. Then chili was replaced by cotton, BT, when BT was introduced. Now again the complex of pests and other things, the farmers switched over to maize. Maize was not at all the crop of Haveri district. Now entire Haveri district is covered with rain-fed maize. That's how the changing in cropping system, wheat, soybeans and rice, and all these areas are being increased at the cause of cultivation of the millets, sorghum, barley, groundnuts, oil seeds are declining. We are producing more than our requirements of cereals, but less and less of pulses, oil seeds and millets. That's how the importance of millets is being realized now. Traditionally grown and consumed crops, millets grown easily in arid and semi-arid areas. Whatever the moisture is there, millets are capable to complete its life cycle and give some yield, whereas the modern varieties, hybrids are not suitable for such situations. Come to the impacts of the green revolution technology on human health. Indians consumed lot of millets earlier, but it's becoming faded. That's why our ancestors, our fathers, forefathers, or stronger than us, we feel. Now, at the age of 40 or 50, we are getting knee joint replacements, knee joint pains, all health problems. That's the one of the reason is that more and more consumption of cereals rather than consuming the millets and other things. FAO has recorded that over the years there are a decrease in the production of millets and an increase in the production of rice. Failed to provide green revolution, failed to provide diverse diet. Okay, that's the provided increased calorie consumption. So one of the reasons for all our health concern, present day health, not only concern to one of two, diabetics, obesity, is it not? All these are due to the change in food habits, change in the crops and cropping pattern, etc. So most of the pesticides, they are belong to organophosphate, organochlorine, carbamates, pyrethroids. They are having more residual effects. So indiscriminate use of these types of pesticides so far, it causes nervous, endocrine, reproductive and immune systems. That's how I will show some of the examples also in future. And impacts on farmers. Ultimately, farmers are the first person to expose to the pesticides. Second, we will come to the picture as a consumers. Is it not? We say, as an entomologist, they should use PP kit, is it not, while spraying the pesticides. Either goggle, gloves, or covering their skin and other things. No farmers is practicing that habit, is it not? He will remove all his clothes when he want to spray. Directly he is exposing to the pesticide. The pesticide will enter into his body through skin, through respiration, through eyes, whatever the parts which are going to take. So all these leads to the development of cancer if exposed for longer period, and significant correlation between agrochemical content in water and also birth defects. So also several instances are there. So pesticide implications. 800 residents in Kenya, they have studied, showed evidence of respiratory, skin, bone and nervous system problems. The frequency of symptoms is higher among planters, weeders and harvesters. Problems for pollinators and also these aquatic organisms also there in European Union. Over the longer term, neonicotinoid use could have serious implications for biodiversity and also the environment. Many of the farmers are having the problem of nervous system. Okay, initially they ignore it and later they realize it. So that's the, so ultimately in conclusion, modern agriculture practices are beneficial in ensuring food security. It not has unintended but harmful consequences on agriculture and also human health. That's how, to this point, I am stressing that there is a need of alternative agriculture practices. What are those alternative agriculture practices? There is a need of, so one is sustainable agriculture, that includes the zero budget natural farming or nowadays natural farming and organic farming practices. So that eliminates external inputs. That's the purpose. So these are the references you can take down, and you can go through in detail about the effects of green revolution and need of the hour for the present day. So what is the alternative agriculture practices we need? One is a resilient and sustainable agriculture system is required to face different environmental challenges. We cannot go with the present day modern agriculture practices. The thing is, sustainable agriculture, it includes different eco-friendly farming technique. Eco-friendly, one should not interfere with the ecology, that boost crop yield and livestock production without having an adverse effect on the environment. This last is most important. Whatever the practices you do in order to enhance the productivity, okay, you should concern to the environment. It should not affect the environment. So, come to the linking these to our organic or natural agriculture. What is that? Sustainability aims. There are several things. Why we should go for natural farming or organic farming? You can go one by one. Low investments, good and constant yields. If you maintain the organic carbon content, organic matter content in the soil, you can stabilize the yield. Low external inputs. As per the principle of this practice, you don't need it. We will see in later also. Make best use of local resources. You should not depend on the importing substances, especially for synthesis or manufacture of fertilizers. We are importing several raw materials, is it not? That we can avoid it. Ecosystem balance, no chemical pollution, high soil fertility, clean water, biological diversity, animal friendly husbandry, okay, conserve natural resources, safe products. If you come towards social aims, the people will get safe product, good taste and quality, respect the local culture, gender balance, satisfy local needs, ensure food supply, fair trade, good working condition. These are all the things, and economically viable. If a farmer, if he maintain his own farm with self-sustainability, ultimately you will get the economic security. That's how the natural farming will revolve around these sustainable aims. Come to the natural farming, anchoring a sustainable way of farming, how it is coming to the rescue. It is giving solution to various problems. One is food insecurity, because in natural farming we suggest, or the principle is that we should go for crop diversity. You should grow whatever is required for his family requirement, or diversified cropping system you should get. And health problems arising due to pesticides and chemical residues in food and water, that can be overcome. Global warming can be reduced. Climate change effects, if global warming is reduced, ultimately that will take care of the climate change, natural calamities, potential to generate employment. No, if we have only one monocropping system, after harvesting of that crop you will not be having any other work. If you adopt integrated farming system with all animal husbandry, perennial trees, you will have work, more employment opportunity will be there, thereby stemming the migration of rural youth. In our all dryland areas, the people are migrating to the metropolitan cities in search of job. That can be prevented. So natural farming, as the name suggests, is the art, practice and increasingly the science of working with nature, that we should consider to achieve much more with less. Whatever is applied is less, and anticipating the more yield or more benefits with the lesser expenditure or lesser inputs. Come to the definition or whatever you want to say about it. Natural farming refers to a farming approach that emphasizes the importance of co-production of crops and animals, so that synergistic effects of different parts of the system can be used, relying on easily available ingredients to produce crops on farm and microorganisms to build the fertility of the soil. So Palekar says, given the definition, the crop should be husbandry with the livestock. Livestock should be there, and whatever the ingredients you want to use to grow the crop should be in the farm itself, and that's the on-farm inputs and microorganisms to build the soil fertility, not with any external inputs. That's one thing. So natural farming, it releases nutrients locked up in the soil by triggering microbial activity. So ultimately the question comes, when you are not using the nutrients, where the nutrients will come to the crop. So whatever the inputs or the types of concoctions we are using that is going to release the nutrients that are there in the soil. That's the principle. And bring the earthworms activities back. That's not at all there in the present modern day agriculture. Earthworms, we studied from our primary class itself, is it not? Earthworms are the friends of the farmers. Now, we are not relying anything on the earthworm, so that if the earthworm activities is back, now it do several process. It consumes the organic matter, it excretes the worms cast, and also the tillage activities will also be done by these earthworms, is it not? It will burrow into the soil and come to the surface, creates aeration in the soil. All those benefits will be there, and encourage plants to fix the moisture from the air. Once the organic matter, humus content is more in the soil, it is capable to fix up the moisture, withhold the moisture. Okay. The another definition you can say, natural farming is regenerative. It increases the carbon content in the soil, allows us to retain more water in the soil. Once the carbon content means organic matter content will be increased in the soil, it is going to increase the water holding capacity, creating life in the soil with humus, okay, which increases the fertility of the soil. The ultimate end product of decomposition of organic matter is humus. If that content is increased in the soil, naturally we can say that soil is fertile, and that will be helpful to get the better crops. So ultimately natural farming is holistic agriculture method, seeks to eliminate purchase of toxic pesticides and fertilizers. Eliminate, no permission, no scope for use of any external synthetic inputs in the agriculture. Yield healthy crops, healthy living and environment friendly farming. So natural farming promises to end reliance on loans. What for farmer is making loans? Money to purchase the seed, to purchase the herbicide, to purchase the pesticides, to purchase the fertilizers, modern machineries, operations, is it not? For even if he is having a tractor, again he has to purchase diesel and other things. So all these can be eliminated. That's how you can come out of the drudgeries of the loan. Cut production costs. Aim is to reduce the production cost. If I surveyed, as our Girjesh sir introduced, 1,300 farmers, they say that agriculture is not profitable. Why? Means expenditure is more. Whatever the returns he gets, many times will be negative. Sometimes it may be whatever he spends, you will get it back. Or if yields are affected by any of the disease or pests, you will not get at all. That's how the natural farming is promising to cut down the cost of production. Okay, helps rural development, and ultimately natural farming means farming with nature and without chemicals. Now it's natural farming only, not zero budget. That nomenclature is changed 3 years back itself, only natural farming. Okay, so nature has its own course with respect to, if you see the history, you know Masuno Kauka. He proposed one-straw revolution. Of course, Palekar studied the one-straw revolution technologies, but that is not suitable to our present day culture, because you cannot establish the crop without doing any tillage or do nothing farming. What he says, just harvest the produce economical important parts and leave everything into the soil. But to establish that natural conditions, it requires almost decades together. Farmer cannot wait for the decades together. Therefore, so that may not be possible. And some of the popular practices, Rishiketi, agriculture of the sages, even Vedas period also, You know, India is having a long history. Ban the turning of soil. Here, whatever our modern practice is there, mold board plow. What is the actual operation mold board plow is doing? It reversing the soil. Whatever the residues are there, it will burying into the soil and expose the subsurface soil to the surface. That is prohibited here. Stop use of chemical fertilizer, but addition of organic matter is encouraged. The soil turn to soft, airy, moist and encourages the rejuvenation of the earthworms. Once if you practice this natural farming, the soil will become smooth because of better aeration, because of the earthworms activities, not only earthworms, microbial activities. You know the role of microbes in converting the soil aggregates. If the better aeration is there, better aggregates are there, your soil will become soft. Our laborers are feeling we are maintaining a different blocks of organic agriculture practices, natural farming and conventional farming practices. They feel that even when visitors comes, when they are walking on the land, when they entering into the natural farming, they feel that it's having some sponge effect. Means that shows the smoothness of the soil with the natural farming practices. And once if the earthworm activities are more, I will share my results tomorrow. What will the benefits? Natural tillers, that's what I mentioned. The earthworms will burrow into the soil and they come to the surface for putting the excreta. Always the burrowing and activities, particularly the natural earthworms or local earthworms, they are having the habit of burrowing and moving almost all 24 hours, so that soil will become loose. That's create the tillage, means soil will become loose. Is it not? What is the purpose of tillage? Ultimately to make the soil friable for seed germination, etc. That will be done by the earthworms. Nourishment of the topsoil, because whatever the organic matter or the soil that is consumed by the earthworms, the excreta will be put forth on the surface of the soil, so that surface soil will become fertile. Ultimately soil will become fertile, not only the surface soil. Encourage cover crops or vegetation. So to encourage the earthworm activities, the soil should be covered with any of the crop residues. Okay, that will come to the principles and other things. Concepts and scenarios of natural farming, and of course it's not a monocropping, diversified farming practices. It integrates crops, trees and livestock. So we should not thinking of only crop and also livestock. There is another component, perennial component. Trees also should be there in the natural farming, allowing the optimum use of functional biodiversity. Natural farming, if done effectively, enhances farmers' income while delivering many other benefits such as restoration of soil fertility and environmental health, and mitigating or reducing the greenhouse gas emissions. Natural farming builds on natural or ecological process that exists in or around the farms. We will see one by one. Features of the natural farming. So, not only the Palekar, even we also studied in our soil fertility course, is it not? 98% of the nutrients are supplied by air, is it not? What are those things? Can you name the major nutrients? CHO. That's the body build-up of any of the biomass. So hardly we are struggling to manage 2% of the crop nutrients in terms of NPK, micronutrients and other things. So that 2% can be fulfilled by good quality soil, if you maintain soil fertility, organic matter, by maintaining friendly microorganisms. If your soil are enriched with microbes, then your soil will become fertile and they are able to supply the required nutrients. And of course, example, just like forest and natural system, nobody is supplying any water or nutrients in the natural ecosystem, is it not? They themselves, they get recycled. The soil is always supposed to be covered with organic mulch. That's the concept. The soil should not be exposed to the atmosphere or sunlight. Always it should be covered with organic mulch, or we'll see the types of mulches and other things, which creates humus and encourages the growth of friendly microorganisms. The mulching material is most essential to develop the microbes in the soil, to survive, to protect from the sunlight. Okay. So farm-made biocultures, many of you by this time you are hearing Bijamruta, Jivamruta, did not Gana Jivamrut. So all added to the soil instead of any fertilizers to improve the microflora of soil. What these Jivamrut, Gana Jivamrut is serving, Bijamrut, they are all concoctions of microorganisms. Okay, so these are all added to the soil to encourage the microbial diversity, biodiversity in the soil. And where you will get all these things? Bijamrut, Jivamrut are derived from very little cow dung. We will see the procedure and the other things tomorrow. Cow urine of Desi cow breed. Particularly Desi cow, that will also I will justify with my results tomorrow. It holds the promise of enhancing farmers' income while delivering many other benefits such as restoration of soil fertility. That's most important. Nowadays, that soil fertility is becoming declining over years. Environmental health and mitigating or reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Some of the points are repeating. Features: the system requires cow dung and cow urine. That's of course Gomutra obtained from Indian breed or Desi cows only. Desi cow is apparently the purest as far as the microbial content of cow dung and urine goes. Why we prefer Desi cow means more beneficial microorganisms are there in Desi cow. In natural farming, neither chemical nor organic fertilizers are added to the soil. Invariably, the soil has to be fertile by using these concoctions and agricultural practices. So in natural farming, decomposition of organic matter by microbes and earthworms is encouraged. So mulching, whatever the residues you have, whether it is left over fodder or leaf litter or any other types, you have to maintain on the soil surface. So that will act as a substrate for microbial concoctions we are using through Jivamrut and Gana Jivamrut. And also earthworms also need some organic matter. Okay, partially decomposed organic matter will be fed by these earthworms. It will act as its food, and ultimately it will be all the microbes, microbial activities will be maintained at the surface of the soil if you keep the mulching material on the surface, which gradually adds nutrition in the soil over the period. That's how the nutrient cycle is taking place. So ultimately here the mulching material means you should take only the economical part and retain, recycle all the residues to the soil. That's the principle of natural farming proposed by Pukauka, right? And in natural farming, no tilting of soil, that I already mentioned, that's all I am repeating. Natural or farm-made pesticides like pests are also will be there. So those are all controlled by Dashparni, okay, and Neemastra, several other astras also there, Brahmastra, Agni Astra, etc. Those weeds are considered essential and used as living or dead mulch layer. Sometimes we face the problem of mulching material where we have to bring. The farmers will ask, where is the mulching material? So whatever the weeds that is grow on the burns or roadside or in the between the crops, that should be cut and used as a mulching material. Okay. So multi-cropping is encouraged over single crop. That's how tree component will come into this picture. Come to the principles of natural farming. In natural farming, chemical or organic fertilizers, whatever we as referred so far, are not added into the soil. It's prohibited. Decomposition of organic matter by microbes and earthworms is encouraged right on the soil surface. That's what I explained. Again, plowing, tillage, many people will also ask the question whether plowing is permitted or not. So, tilting of the soil, reversible plow is not permitted or not done, and it remains in a way just like a natural ecosystems. Okay. Healthy soil microbiome is the key to retaining and enhancing soil organic matter. So, if we reverse the soil, again we know we refer in order to control pathologists, they say use the MB plow during summer months in order to sanitize the soil to kill the pathogenic organisms. So, here we encourage the build-up of beneficial microorganisms that will be killed if you do the reversible plow tillage operations. Concoctions are necessary to enhance the fertility of the soil. That is the principle. Why we should use Jivamrut, Ghana Jivamrut repeatedly in order to enhances the fertility of the soil by encouraging soil microbial diversity in the soil. There are different ways of making concoctions. As I mentioned, dung and urine is the main substrate for preparations, and for especially Jivamruta, Bijamruta, Ghana Jivamruta, for all these three products, dung and urine is the raw material. Okay. Then scope of natural farming. Right. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಎರಡು slide ಮಾಡಿ close ಮಾಡಿ. So ultimately, scope of natural farming is there, and its most popular model in India. It's being adopted in Andhra Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, Gujarat. You might have heard the speech of even Governor, and also it's being taken up in other states, UP, MP, Odisha, Chhattisgarh, Uttarakhand, and also in Karnataka. And there is lot of scope. So natural farming improves ultimately soil fertility, environmental health, as well as helps in reduction of the greenhouse gases. That's the scope. Okay. Even our Indian farmers, small and marginal farmers are more. You can see 10 and 11 census shows about 92 million farmers are belong to the marginal holdings, 24 millions are small holdings. So small and marginal farmers, if you put together, it's almost 110 million, and also the percentage change, if you take the 20 or 21 census, these small and marginal farmers will be still more, and these natural farming practices are very feasible for practice by these small and marginal farmers. So ultimately importance, whatever I mentioned so far, effectiveness of the natural farming in terms of increase in production, sustainability, saving of water use, improvement in soil health and farmland ecosystem. Okay. So cost effective farming practices by reducing the cost of cultivation, and that's the importance. Ultimately, benefits of natural farming. So one benefit is improvement in the yield. If we maintain the soil fertility, yield will be improved, ensures better health. I already explained in all the ways, by improving the soil health, plant health, human health, etc. Environmental conservation, increased farmers' income by reducing the cost of cultivation. Several minimize cost of production, eliminates application of synthetic chemical inputs, rejuvenates soil health and livestock sustainability. These are the benefits of natural farming. And come to the current scenario of natural farming. is being practiced in several states, including Karnataka. So among that, Andhra Pradesh is leading. I discussed with Vijay Tallam. He was telling that the present enrollment of the farmers in Andhra Pradesh is 8 lakhs. And in the coming year is targeting 10 lakh farmers to enroll for the natural farming practices. Of course, in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, everywhere it is there. State governments of different states are promoting natural farming. And particularly in Andhra Pradesh, it's led by this Andhra Pradesh community managed natural farming that is done by Raitu Sadhikara Samstha. Raitu Sadhikara Samstha, NGO, non-profit oriented institute. RYSS mandate is to plan and implement programs for the empowerment and all around welfare of the farmers. At present 8 lakh farmers are there in Andhra Pradesh. Gujarat, of course, several programs. Gujarat Atmanirbhar package. 2 programs on natural farming focusing, that is Sat Pagla, Kedut Kalyan, Pagala for natural farming by the government of Gujarat. In Himachal Pradesh, PK3, that program is going on, Prakritik Keti Kushal Kisan Yojana. 2 lakh farmers are covered under the this project or this scheme. The scheme seeks to promote the production of food grains, vegetables and fruits without the use of synthetic chemicals or pesticides and fertilizers. Farmers are happy with the practices, the cultivation and cost reduction, etc. So Rajasthan, Kheti mein Janto Saskat Kishan. Under this program, they are encouraging natural farming. And in Karnataka, now that, as he mentioned, operational research projects on natural farming covering about 10,000 hectares. It was given to all 10 agroclimatic zones of Karnataka. And we did research on all the crops and cropping systems of the different agroclimatic zones, and also it was demonstrated in the farmers field. And the extended portion of this project is Chief Minister's natural farming. Whatever the crops that are suitable for natural farming, that were demonstrated in 5,000 acres, and also those farmers are given encouragement through direct benefit transfer of about rupees 20,000 per hectare. Okay. With this I will stop, and organizers are having inaugural function today by now. At this time we will go there and we will continue my discussion tomorrow. Okay. Questions that will also be taken care tomorrow.
Okay. Good afternoon, friends. From last 1.5 hours, we had an interaction with Dr. C.P. Chandrashekar sir, and the overview of natural farming practices, some history and concepts in natural farming. Still the class is continuing. Tomorrow you will take another class. So now it's time for inauguration purpose. So I thank Dr. for presenting the overview of natural farming. And as sir said, any questions regarding this issue can be discussed tomorrow. I once again thanks Dr. Chandrashekar sir on behalf of KVK and all the participants. Thank you. Thank you, sir.